Hello and welcome to week 35 of the Foot Weekly podcast. This is a gameplay episode and we have no Ben this week. He's feeling ill, and despite the fact I got off my stag do yesterday, I've been pulled in with not as bad of a hangover as one might expect. I have had a bit of a lead-off time from being in Germany, so the 𝘭𝑪 have gone through the system. But I have two very abled guests to help guide me through today's podcast.
Did you want me to leave then?
Sorry. Yeah, I forgot. We have one very abled guest this week, and Nepenthez, who I'll introduce first. Nice to have you here.
Hello, yeah. Only my second gameplay podcast, I think, so nice to be here.
Yeah, sometimes we do need to hear the opinions of the lesser players in the game, and so it's good to have Nep on. And also here we have the commentator for most things, 𝘵𝑆₀ in the professional realm, but also a creator himself and a very good player as well, although Bottle 13 wins, I heard, this weekend. Richard Buckley, how are you doing?
Thank you very much. Yeah, great to be back. Did bottle 13 wins after being 12-1. Lost the last two games, which left a bit of there's a word there. Bitter taste in the mouth. You would have thought I'd commentate. Yeah, great to be back, and looking forward to chatting all things gameplay.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting week this week. I think there's been some kind of people crashing out of the game and then coming back. And Bundesliga Team of the Season has offered up some pretty interesting cards for us to kind of get our teeth into and maybe change our teams up too much. So, like, with it just being the three of us, I thought maybe we'll go through kind of how we're set up at the moment. I know 4-2-1-3 was the go-to formation for a long period of time. What are you running right now, Richard?
I am running a 4-2-3-1 second variation with the left mid and right mid. I could tell you the team if you would like as well.
Yeah, go for it.
I've got David Raya in goal, ping pass plus out the back. I'm a merchant for a ping pass. I'm using Trent right back because someone's got to show him some love. Centre backs, red 𝘵𝘃𝗀𝘀𝘁 𝗔𝗽𝗍𝘀, so it's quite nice. Left back, I've got Grimaldo, but previously I had Nuno Mendes, 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘏. My two CDMs, wow. I've got Rabiot and 𝘵𝑎llister, Team of the Season. Left mid, I'm using the honourable mentions Morgan Rogers. Right mid, I'm using Bukayo Saka. There we go. Cam, Bruno Fernandes. And then up top, Team of the Season, Chris Wood. So it's not actually a great team, in my opinion, considering the level of teams. But it feels like a team that is very Richard Buckley. Big man up top in case I need to head it down, aerial plus. Got great shooting across the board. Solid defence, lots of pace. For the team management, I'm using defender on both centre-backs, full-back on balanced on both full-backs, both CDMs, deep line playmaker build-up. Right mid, Saka, I'm using winger on balanced, and Rogers on the left, I'm using inside forward balanced, shadow striker on Bruno, and then complete advanced forward on Wood. Defensive approach high.
Interesting. So you've got inside forward on one of the wide mids, yep, but have deep line playmaker build up.
Yep.
Is there like, because my experience of using deep line playmaker build up on the defensive midfielder is they make those runs forward kind of into the like attacking mid spot. They tend not to then go into the box. Do you feel that pushes the inside forward on a bit further up the pitch from left midfield? How do they interact together?
Not necessarily. I was having a problem where my players were too far away from each other. So I wanted I'm happy defending with my back four. I wanted my CDMs to be involved in the attacking phase, especially when, Rabiot he's big, but he's got finesse plus, he's got tiki-taka and pinged, and he's 5'5". He does contribute 2 goals, and it's the exact same with 𝘵𝑎llister. He can contribute 2 goals in the final third. And that is sort of what I wanted. I feel as though Morgan Rogers, I don't know what it is about him, but he just suits that player on the left-hand side so well. I've played 23 games with him. I've scored 15 goals and got 12 assists. From a left mid, he outscores Saka night and day. But I feel as though Saka, even though he's technically slower in the pace category, that little bit of acceleration he gets from the technical dribbling into the rapid, when you sprint with him, he does get away, and his finesse shot is unbelievable on his left foot. So it just feels like the way that I've got it at the moment, I was using both of them on inside forward, I was using both of them on winger, but Rodgers just coming inside a little bit and also almost being that extra pass when I move the ball across the pitch. It feels like that's where I'm getting the most out of him at the moment.
So you tend to play kind of down the right wing with the winger, like having the space, passing it back, and then kind of having that inside forward run at the back post that kind of goes between the centre back and the full back.
Yeah,
for the shot at the back step.
If I can't utilize Wood inside the box and get a little bit of space and take a low driven, I will look for sort of Bruno Fernandes. I put the tiki-taka plus play style on Bruno as well. So he's got long ball pass, ping pass, incisive pass, tiki-taka. So he's almost that player in there that he contributes everything in the attack. Everything goes through him. So I will always have a pass on, whether it's into Bruno or through to Rodgers on that left-hand side. And also Rodgers, he's probably not meant to be playing out at left mid. Control lengthy, and he's 6'2". So I can sort of, if I need to sort of play into him, I can play sort of, not necessarily knockdowns with him, but he's a little bit stronger, he's a little bit more physical, he's got first touch as well, so he can kill the ping pass instantly to him. I know he's not been liked by a lot of people, but for me, he has been outstanding.
Well, that's one way of playing, Nep. I know you've been on multiple different accounts. Is there a formation you feel kind of most attached to right now?
Do you want to know something, actually? Last year, the Crappers account, we just built that 4-3-3 and didn't deviate from it. And I really enjoyed playing on that account, on that formation. And this year, we have the 4-1-2-2 narrow that we've been on for a long time. And I really enjoy it. Yeah, I never play with those formations anywhere else. But more recently, I switched from the 4-4-2 or the 4-2-1-3 because, it was so meta. I'm like, let me just try and use it to get an advantage. And I just can't play like people play with the meta stuff. But I went into a 4-2-3-1, but the other version, not the one that Rich is playing, with the 3 cams. And it's been a bit eye-opening, actually, because I took David M. Nobrega's tactics. He just said, he's going 15-0 on multiple counts of these tactics, and it gave a little explanation of how to play it. All the cams are on Shadow Striker. The CDMs are on DLP++ and Holding++, and then the backline is just fullbacks and defenders. And my initial experience with it was really, really strong. Having those 3 cams just pushing the line, effectively making 4 players just in the mixer. But the more I've played with it, the more I've really recognized that if I don't hit that kind of counter real quick and take advantage of my possession very quickly, there's no ability to recycle the play because nobody's on the edge of the box. So I need to tinker with it a little bit more to maybe put one of the cams as a playmaker or something like that, just to hold a little bit deeper, or maybe bring the fullbacks up the field a little bit more. But it's been really, really fun to play with a different formation, and I constantly get stuck in my ways of getting into a formation and then just forcing that and win, lose or draw, just assuming that it's skill issue, and probably for the most part it is. But I haven't tried many formations this year, and I don't know why, because there's so many variations of everything you can do now that finding the right formation and the right play style for the way you want to play and the players you've got is going to be something that you have to kind of work at. You're not just going to fall into it accidentally. So maybe a formational change coming up.
Yeah, I definitely would echo that. And I think there's been a lot of talk about 𝘵𝑺𝑰𝗀 and the tactical change we've had this year, whether it's been a good or bad thing, I think the inevitable thing happened, which is that a quote-unquote OP formation and set of tactics was found with the 4-2-1-3, and that's just then what 90% of people use because they don't want to go and experiment themselves. But I definitely think the ability to change the way players play in-game with the roles, with the focuses, and then having all of those different formations you can go through, I just think there's so much more out there that people can enjoy, and I'm absolutely guilty. I'm still playing the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. It just suits the way I like to play, and I'm kind of comfortable in that formation now. I know where players are going to be. I know the runs they're going to make because I've not even changed like the roles that I'm using mostly. And until it stops working, it becomes quite a difficult thing to force that change. But I really do think as we go into the summer, really experimenting, trying to find something that you enjoy with how it works. I think it will be something you can carry into the next game as well. 𝘵𝑺𝑰𝗀's probably not going anywhere considering how much effort was put into it. It may be tinkered with, but I would imagine that if you find something that really suits the way you play, you'll be able to take that into the next game cycle and really begin to kind of forge your own path. And I often come up against, if someone is playing a different formation to something I've found to be meta, it's quite difficult for me to defend. I don't think we understand quite how much pattern recognition we have in our brains when we're playing people who play like the 4-2-1-3. I know what they're going to do 99% of the time. And whether I can stop it, that's another question, but it makes it that little bit easier. If somebody's playing a different formation, maybe like a 4-3-3 variant, the 4-3-3-4 with the cam, I can sometimes have big issues with, even though it's like a very similar setup to the 4-2-1-3. Something about those midfielders being a bit higher, they make runs that then affects the runs that are being made in front of them, and suddenly you're having to try and defend with a different player than you're used to doing. So I would definitely encourage people to sort of try new and different things. And on the topic of trying new and different things, Richard, you were saying kind of pre-pod that you felt like you were maybe taking something from the pros that you're watching kind of week in, week out that you're beginning to apply to your game. And it's actually something I've preached a few times. So I'd like to kind of hear your take on patience.
Yeah, so especially, I think it goes hand in hand with the formation I'm using as well. I found that if I was rushing my attacks, especially with the build-up on the CDMs that we were talking about, I can get exposed if I rush the ball and sort of waste it. I'm not keeping possession as such. I'm just taking more time in, especially it was when I watched Anders at the virtual Bundesliga just sort of a week ago, and Anders does a lot in his gameplay that I can't do. His right stick switching, his pressure off the ball, his finishing, the composure that he has. But one thing that I did notice, he technical dribbles even without the playstyle a lot, just to give himself time to think of where he wants to go next. And especially with my CDMs, instead of sprinting or even left stick dribbling, I will technical dribble. Rabiot's perfect at it. Just to create space, just to pull a player out of position, just to wait for an angle to open up, and then I will play. I'm not even necessarily dribbling to take on a player. I'm just technical dribbling to give myself time. And it's one thing that's changed my game drastically. Feeling like I don't have to necessarily score on every attack, but not wasting the ball on every attack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think I've talked a lot about patience defensively, but patience going forward, and as you were saying, Nep, in that 4-2-3-1, you do sometimes need a formation that has the ability to recycle the ball, to kind of wait for that defensive mistake, especially against those players who tend not to touch their back line. You need some space or a run to kind of open up a little bit to then start trying to exploit a gap that's been made. Or just bore your opponent into going, hi, I want to win the ball back now and run out.
I do that sometimes when people hold the possession on the edge of the box for me. But just going back on what Rich was saying about like Anders, like technical dribbling, like in in defence or Rich holding the ball more defensively. It's something I watch 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦 do a lot. When he wins possession back, he'll just like ball roll, maybe pass it backwards, another ball roll and another sideways pass, and then he'll like start the attack. And one of the things that I get wrong all of the time is as soon as I win the ball back, I try a risky pass into the midfield to initiate a counter attack. And sometimes it works on a score, but genuinely more often than not, it results in me losing possession, conceding, and then blaming the game because the pass that really wasn't on didn't connect. And this week, I've really started taking a little bit more time of just getting the ball, letting the players kind of reset a little bit and move. And maybe sometimes I could make that counter attack and I miss it. But for the most part, it really helps the kind of like mentality side of things when you get the ball and you hold the ball and you keep the ball and your opponent starts getting a little bit frustrated that, you know, they haven't got it anymore and they've missed their chance to score. And then you build the attack. And when it gets into that ability then to build the attack and get into the final third, having the players in the right places is just so key. And it's another thing that I've just got wrong in the formations that I've been using and stuff. You know, I'm kind of sitting there and every now and then a play will open up and I'll be like, oh, damn, all I did was send the cam forwards and one of the AI players followed him, so the left back was in space. I stepped inside with the left back, hit a 𝘵𝑃𝑒𝑙𝑎 and scored a goal. Let me try and do that again. But I don't know what I did in the build up to it. And what you said before about pattern recognition, my pattern recognition, not defensively, but offensively is get the ball, ping a pass, get it wide, finesse shot, get the ball, ping a pass, get it wide, finesse shot. And so it's like I almost like subconsciously move towards that. And it's really hard to tell yourself not to do that and to learn something new.
Definitely. And in terms of learning something new, we will move on to some questions from the listeners in the Discord after this break. And welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about holding the ball a little bit, building your attack up, maybe changing the way that you're attacking, learning how to attack a bit differently. And we got a question from 𝗵, who asked a purely selfish question. He said he got Ronaldinho out of a pick. I've got some tricks up my sleeve when dribbling, but honestly struggle a bit to dominate in this area. So let's get it on the ground, play some beautiful football. What are your top dribbling tips and tricks now everyone has mega high-paced centre-backs? If we can't run past them, we'll have to squeeze through them. We're going on a bear hunt. But how? And Jay Dickinson also followed this up with, he could also do some tips on dribbling. I've got loads of players who also have Tech Plus, which he just doesn't utilise. So Nep, how much do you use technical dribbling? Where do you use it? And do you have like a special dribbling move that you are using at the moment?
I don't really use tech dribbling much, actually. Last year I used it a lot, but this year, again, it's just one of those things that wasn't strong at the start of the game cycle, and so I didn't add it in when it, or if it's become strong. I use it like sparingly, but not really very often. But I've got two things that I'm doing a lot more recently with dribbling, or not even necessarily with dribbling, but with the ball on the floor, and then one of them more specific to dribbling, is off of a pass, like hitting a ball roll or a skill move or a fake shot immediately when passing the ball seems to really throw the defenders. Do you remember like in previous years, maybe like FIFA 22, FIFA 21, when you played against Squad Battles AI and hitting that fake shot would like stun them for half a second? It feels like that with even against like a human. Obviously, they can't control all of them. So hitting that fake shot straight away or hitting that ball roll straight away seems to just stun a defender and give you a little moment to do something. But the thing I've been doing the most recently, which that Ronaldinho will be exceptional at, is just using sprint on like one touch here and there. So if I'm down the wing and a player like draws towards me, I'll just sprint one time and then go straight back into a slow walk or a ball roll or something. And it causes panic when they do it. And especially if you send a player on a run and then hit a little sprint, it creates so much space for you to either walk into and hit a 𝘵𝑃𝑒𝑙𝑎 or a finesse shot or a really easy pass, or it will panic them so much that they'll drive their player towards you, giving you a really, really easy option for a 1-2 or for a skill move around the player because you're now slow and in control. So hitting like a roulette or a rainbow flick or something, or with that Ronaldinho, a trickster flick over a defender. And it honestly has transformed my game. It's taken me from like a 6-win player to like at least a 7-win player.
Well, it's definitely something I'll have to try then, because you know these 9 wins aren't going to get themselves. So you know I'll have to start trying the one touch sprint maybe something we'll see kind of become its own skill move in future iterations. On the technical dribbling question, Richard, you mentioned that you use it. Are there specific scenarios when you're using it? And you were saying Anders uses players who don't even have any technical dribbling play style. Do you get more out of the playstyle plus? Is it something that you utilize more often, and whereabouts on the pitch do you use it?
Well, I'm going to go back to it, and I swear it's not a Morgan Rogers agenda podcast, but he's got technical plus. So I do use it in the wide areas, especially when he has possession of the ball. As we're talking about patterns, a lot of the time I'll work the ball wide on either side, and then I'm looking to recycle back in field, whether that's through a sort of L1, R1. I don't even know what the official name of the skill move is, but when you press L1, R1, and then you move the right stick and you sort of move the ball between both feet, and then
like a double touch type thing.
Yeah, I don't know the official name of it, but it's the double touch inside. If that starts getting read by my opponent, I can technical dribble, and as he's expecting me to cut it back, just technical dribble to the byline, and then he has to mark the sort of byline pass, and then you execute the technical dribbling into the cutback onto the edge of the box. And 9 times out of 10, you will find yourself an opening in some area of the pitch. It's very, very situational technical dribble, I feel like. If you can add it into your game, it's fantastic, but it's also not the be-all and end-all. I utilize it because I feel as though it helps me sort of slow down my attacks, but if it's not something you're familiar with and you don't necessarily like doing it, you don't necessarily have to do it. I think skill moves wise, especially if you've got tricks to silver or tricks to gold, the tricks to fake shot is unbelievably nice at sort of just creating space in the box and causing panic more than anything. I don't really do any of the tricks to like skill moves. I tend to stay away from the right stick in terms of flicking the ball up. I'll do a lot of step overs, and I suppose something that is somewhat confusing. A lot of the time I'll do a step over, then cancel it with L2 and R2 to throw a sort of a shimmy and then come back inside. But again, it's all very situational. My sort of skill moves. I've actually found, none of my Bruno Fernandes doesn't have 5-star skills. Chris Wood doesn't have 5-star skills. Morgan Rogers doesn't have 5-star skills. Rabiot does, but I'm not pulling out Elasticos with Rabiot all the time. Sometimes I will. McAllister doesn't have 5-star skills, and it's almost improved my game not having like skill move players in that area. The one player that does have 5-star in the final third that I've got is Saka. But even now, sometimes I can't get my head around the left-footed skill moves. So I'll try doing Elastico and I'll pull out a reverse Elastico and it'll work for me. But yeah, almost just simplifying my game a little bit I think has helped me kick on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've never been a spammer of skill moves, and I think sometimes I think it's a playstyle thing. Some people really enjoy that feeling of like beating a defender, but I think especially at those high win elos or in high rivals divisions, people are usually pretty good defensively, and unless you've kind of got them on the racks in terms of scoreline, they tend not to dive in, and it makes the trying to skill pass them a little bit more difficult. In terms of technical dribbling, it's something I barely ever use, and I should use it way more. Sometimes I'll kind of end up holding a beginning to like start doing a technical dribble, and then I'll kind of exit out of it and go, oh, that was pretty good, and I'll never go back to it again. So it's definitely something I need to add into my game. I will say, in terms of a skill move, especially around the edge of the box, we've made some jokes about 𝗵's ability here, but he's one of the best players I've seen in terms of the reverse elastico to create the space into the box, and probably doesn't even like mentally understand when he's doing it because it's that like pattern recognition and the muscle memory, but kind of running at an angle kind of towards the far post, as it were, a lot of people are expecting a finesse shot or even that pass inside. And the first touch on a reverse elastico takes the ball inside as if to maneuver it onto the left foot, as if you're about to kind of do something on the inside. And the number of times defenders will bite for that flick then back out to the right to create the space for a low driven across the keeper. It's a deadly skill move still. But I would echo Richard's point. Knowing what foot your player is going to perform the skill move with is really helpful, because I don't know about you guys, but the normal elastico is awful for me compared to the reverse one. It just executes so much quicker.
I was actually watching a few top players last week, and they had a lot of elasticos in their game. So I thought, okay, this is good. I'm going to start doing some. And then, I've mentioned him a few times already today, but I watch a lot of 𝘭𝑪𝑖𝑜 for his gameplay related stuff, and he was playing someone in his chat who's like a budding pro and is really good. And he kept telling him to stop doing the elastico. And I thought that's really strange. Like he said, it just makes him really easy to read and knows exactly how he's setting up for it. So he's just really easy to read. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll start doing elasticos then.
One sort of thing that it feels a bit of a relic of the past, but the speed boost is still really strong, especially now we've got sort of so many good high pace players. If you've got quick step or rapid and you've got a high pace player, you can speed boost away from pretty much anyone on the game still. I lost a heavy game against I can't remember, team of the season. It might have been 𝘵ощi, to be honest. It was someone from the Super League team of the season that I've not really seen too much. I think it was 𝘵ощi, if memory serves me correctly. And every time he got the ball, he just speed boosted away. And that pace and that power and that strength, I just could not get near him. And if you can sort of not necessarily perfect the speed boost, but especially in those against centre backs in the middle of the pitch, if you're playing against someone on aggressive depth, there's a lot of chances to be made there.
Tell me about speed boost though, Rich. Are you talking about the L1 speed boost or just literally pressing sprint
L1
to run?
And then straight into a sprint? So then,
because I play against people a lot and they do they almost like turn their body sideways but then exit the other angle, and I cannot for the life of me figure it out, because whenever I use L1 to get into that position, if I don't exit the way that I'm facing, I don't get a speed boost.
I think it might be the quick step plus that allows you to exit at any angle with the pace.
Okay. I would echo that. I come up against people who perform speed boosts in ways that I don't feel able to. And I've often wondered if it's a timing thing. It's one of the things I get when I watch high-level players that are speed boosting a lot. It feels like they always get the exact speed boost they were after. The ball goes the exact right distance at the right angle at the perfect time. And there's a timing element to it that I feel like I've just not got yet. And for them, it's so second nature that if you ask, like, how have you done that specific one? It's like, oh, it's just, hold L1 and then press sprint. And it's like, yeah, but I'm doing that and I can't get it to look the way that it looks for you. So there is definitely something. I wonder if it is the quick step plus. I'll have to keep an eye on that. I do have quite a lot of quick step plus players now, so maybe I will be able to perform it at different angles. It's interesting. For me, I feel like Rapid Playstyle Plus maybe has overtaken Quickstep a little bit, especially in the wide areas. Would you still be going for Quickstep Plus over Rapid, Richard?
Probably just for that instant acceleration, especially in wide, because I think the fullbacks are quicker than centre-halves. A lot of it is just all down to personal preference as well. When you are sprinting, if you're taking sort of extended sprinting strides, Rapid is better. If you're looking for that quick acceleration, I think it's quick step.
Yeah, I've liked 𝘵𝑚𝑃ℎ and Rapid as a combination on like a striker. I feel like their ability to just accelerate past defenders is a different level to pretty much anything else on the game. If you play that through ball in, very often I feel like if your players not controlled lengthy, if they're controlled or any version of explosive, they just have no chance of getting past a defender when they're trying to get onto a ball. Whereas if they have some version of lengthy, and especially if they've got like that quick step for that initial boost, but once they're on the ball, if they've got rapid, your ability to then hold a distance to a defender is just on a completely other level. So I think if you are someone who counterattacks a bit more and tends to play against or struggles against higher lines, having that lengthy attacker, and especially if they've got rapid, it will just allow you to kind of keep that distance away from defenders on the ball. Like last year, I hated rapid, and quick step was so much preferred for me, and they're so even for me right now.
The one player that I love rapid on is Thierry Henry, and he's like either lengthy or controlled lengthy. And when I use just that sprint mechanism that I said earlier on, like just pressing it once with him on the edge of the box, he blitzes past defenders at a rate I've like literally never seen. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is insane. And obviously the thing for rapid is it says it reaches an even higher sprint speed when dribbling and has greatly reduced chance of an error when sprinting or performing knock-ons. And I wonder if it's that whole, like, again, just knowing your game, right? And have I been getting it wrong all year where I'm trying to use a broken mechanic and I'm just doing it wrong because I'm not using the correct players or the correct method of the actual mechanic?
Team of the Year Henry is still my favourite player on the game by an absolute distance, and that thing you're talking about, his ability to accelerate to what feels like top speed instantly, is just a different level entirely. Let's move from the attacking side of the game to the defending side of the game, and the most difficult. You are most vulnerable to conceding after you've just scored, and 𝗵𝘃𝗰𝗶𝗹 does that to a hilarious extent with kickoff. And Cherry asked, how do you best defend kickoff? He probably allows at least one goal a game to it, and it's simply just them running at his defence, and he can't seem to defend it at all. Nep, I know you've had issues with this, so I'm going to go to Richard. Don't take offence with that. Richard, how do you defend kickoffs?
If I will insta-press with my first CDM or Bruno Fernandes, so it's either Rabiot or Bruno as my cam. If they get past me there, I will just foul them every time. I'll just R1X and take the yellow card. I've got 3 CDMs on my bench for yellow card situations, and I will just take the foul 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'll absolutely echo that. I've been pulling players down in the middle of the park after a kickoff all the time. I do think that thing, though, for me, I kind of try to cut off one side of the pitch. I think, especially after the first kickoff, it's kind of like a penalty. You know which side your opponent prefers because that's the way they went on their first one. And if it's that they like to pass to the left winger, then cutting that off instantly, like running your forward up to cut that off and force them away that they're not expecting, it gives you that extra second then to like sort yourself out defensively. It means they have to then turn and try something different. If they are trying to just run past you in the middle, yeah, I like an R1X in there. You will usually have, the one thing I would say is try not to sprint past players with an attacker. I think in the past, people have taken their striker that's kind of on the edge of the centre circle and like run them up round the side of it to kind of try and sprint at the player who receives the ball when it gets passed back. A lot of the times from kickoff now, I find people take that step forward in, like it back towards the centre circle, and you've run past them with your striker and they're kind of past that first line of defence in their first touch. So trying to kind of shepherd people to a side that you would prefer them to go, and then I would like taking them out. I know it's something you've had struggles with. Is there anything that you've tried, Nep, that's kind of helped you from kickoff?
Well, I mean, that was incredibly personal, what you just said before, wasn't it? You just explained my gameplay for the last 7 months, haven't you? No, I've actually worked really, really hard the last couple of weeks, believe it or not, on patience in defence. And I remember when one of the Crappers videos you was editing and you was just telling me that I kept sprinting at the guy in spite of the fact that he just kept passing it left. And why didn't I just go and mark the lane? And it's kind of stuck in the mind. And so I do try and cut the passing lane to the side I think they're going to go to for the most part. But I generally just started kind of like controlling a striker and just running them backwards and just being a bit of a nuisance and stopping, if they do get that first pass off, just stopping the next part of the play, which has been quite helpful. And I do like the R1X is very, very good. I actually like it for a different reason, I think, to most. And I use it quite a lot in and around my attacking third and the halfway line, even if there's no need. because a lot of people rush their free kicks. And so if I just foul them and I get turnover possession from them rushing a free kick, I end up scoring so many goals from just fouling them when there's no need and just winning the ball back.
Yeah, the people like hammering X to kind of get out of a
Yeah.
pause screen, and then they just pass it in the wrong direction.
But also, like, if you get a free kick on the halfway line, for some reason your team just thinks that this is a goal scoring opportunity.
Just throw everyone
everybody's
up
in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, if you make one bad pass, I've got a counter attack, and I've scored an insane amount of goals from doing it.
The final thing I'll say in regards to kickoff as well, and I always say it when I'm commentating, the pro players, we talk about kickoff saying you have to be switched on. But also, if you're the attacking team and you're kicking off, defend your kickoff. Because if you lose the ball when you're trying to sort of go and score directly from the restart, your team's wide open. And it's almost a counter kickoff. So if you're in a tight game and you feel as though, you know what, I don't necessarily want to give my opponent a chance here, or I don't feel confident that I'll be able to score from the restart, just play the ball around for a little bit, get settled again. The last thing you want to do is try and force it forward, lose the ball, and then you're in danger again.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. And from one restart to another, corner kicks is something we talked about recently. I think I tried to explain how I do my overhead kicks from corners, which are like more successful than they should ever be. Nep, you've got a style from free kicks where you pass it short. Could you explain? Because you seem to score quite a lot from those scenarios. What your like passing pattern is from a corner kick?
Yeah, and do you know what? It comes down from muscle memory again. But I cannot, for the life of me, I've been practicing them all week. I can't score from corners for the overhead kicks, even though I concede them, 9 corners out of 10. But what I do is you have to immediately bring the player short. It doesn't matter if you don't. You can bring them short if you forget. But bring them short, turn around, ping the pass to the edge of the box, and then ping the pass into the box. It's brainless. You don't have to think about it. At that point, you'll have a choice to make. The first 3 steps are real simple: pass short, pass to the edge, pass into the box. At that point, you have a choice. And it depends on kind of who's in that position and where they're facing. Like, if it's an attacker, you can just turn around and shoot and you'll score so often. If it's a defender, there is usually another pass inside towards a penalty spot, which will be an attacker. And because of how strong low drivens are now, and my team's like just consistently blessed with those sort of players, I will just score so many corners from just passing into the box and then a shot into the near post. And it happens so quick, especially because people are like so focused on moving their keeper out to try and stop the overhead kick. The passing pattern happens within like a second, to the point where they haven't even registered or reacted to what you've done, and the ball's already in the back of the net. Yeah,
whenever someone passes short from a corner kick, I just find myself panicking defensively. Like I feel like I completely forget everything that I'm meant to be doing. I also think because your team is set up in an odd way defensively, when it gets passed, they don't know whether to get back into a defensive shape. And so everyone's running all over the place. They don't know whether to kind of stay where they are. Some players will kind of go out of the box. Some players will start running away from the play because, well, I'm supposed to be playing left back and I'm out on the right-hand side. And so when that first 2 passes happen, your team in the middle, like the number of times there's kind of 3 open passes in the box because your team's not bothering to mark any of them is absolutely crazy. Richard, is there anything you're doing specially from corners to help score as much as you can?
I like the short one and the recycle onto the edge, and then the first time sort of ping pass into the middle of the sort of the edge of the 6-yard D, if that makes sense, where there's usually a player stood there. I've also a little bit of a different one where I'll play short. I'll then hit a skill move, whether it's a step over or some sort of like maybe the L1 heel to heel to beat that first player who engages a shot, and then L1 square into the back post for either 2 of my centre backs or Chris Wood. And typically the defender won't mark it. 9 times out of 10 you'll have a free header at the back post, and it's just all about making sure you can beat that first player to get the cross in, and then also putting a good cross into the box.
So you said the L1 square there. Can you just explain what that is? That does, how that's different?
It's a bit more of a floated cross, if that makes sense, towards sort of the back post. Instead of whipping it, where I've found the goalkeeper collects this sort of the L1 square into the back post area. It feels as though it's more floated and you've got better chance of getting up and heading it.
Do you know, on the note of crossing and corners as well, I have been conceding significantly more open play crosses to bicycle kicks than I have all year in the last couple of weeks.
More players with acrobat.
Is there any specific scenario in which that's happening?
No, not really. I played against a few people that have just whipped across and conceded a goal, but I played against one guy who was literally wing cross bicycle kick rather than wing cross head, but he was just set up. He didn't have acrobat on his players. He just had, I think he had Muller up front, and he scored one scorpion kick from it, and he missed 2 bicycle kicks and scored 2 bicycle kicks. And then, it's like when you start noticing it, you start noticing a bit more. And I started trying to whip some crosses myself when it just didn't make sense. And I ended up not hitting the ball off of the shot, but just taking it down and then having a low driven shot in instead. But I was like, damn, these are scarily accurate from almost anywhere. And the players didn't have whip pass or anything. There just seems to be a shift in something that the high level attackers now have, whether that's positioning or play styles or where crossing seems to be really, really, really strong.
Yeah, I think it's not been something that people have tried because of the nerf to heading, which essentially has made heading almost entirely useless. Even passing with your head is really difficult right now. And it's the reason why I started trying the overhead kicks from corners. But I have been crossing more recently. I like holding L2 when I cross. I don't know if it does anything, but it feels like it does. And I've not been trying bicycle kicks in the box. It might be something I have to start trying now. But definitely taking the ball down. Again, I think it just induces panic because people don't expect you to kill the ball when a cross has come in. They're expecting you to shoot. And so then they don't know where to go. And often you get good runs off of an aerial pass. Someone will make the run for the knockdown. So definitely something to give a go. So we're almost wrapped up here for this episode. I think before we finish, maybe just a kind of review of where we are in terms of gameplay for this year. I think there's been quite a lot of consternation in the community just about the state of the game, about how people feel about it. How much do you think is down to gameplay and how much do you think is down to content or the kind of lack of innovation in that area of the game? I'll go to you first, Nep.
I think it all is less symbiotic, aren't they? I think it's really important, for all of them to be good. I've enjoyed playing the game a lot recently, and I've actually played it a lot more and played it, dare I say, for fun outside of making content because I'm enjoying just getting on an account, playing 2 or 3 games. It's also kind of coincided with the fact that evolutions now require play 1s and play 2s rather than an insane amount of games. But I'm actually the thing that's kind of disappointing for the game for me right now is the fact that playing the game doesn't seem to have value in terms of being rewarding, which might be why I'm actually enjoying playing it to play it, because it doesn't matter if I get a good champs rewards or any champs rewards as it's been for the last few weeks. Doesn't matter if I get good rivals rewards because everything's accessible now, which has made me just want to play the game. So I think I actually think the game is in a reasonable spot if you've kind of just joined the game and you could want to build your account up quick, or if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of time to play the game, I think you probably really enjoy what's there right now. But if you play this game for probably more than an hour or 2 a day, generally speaking, and you get to that state where you're playing consistently top tier players with these elite level teams, I think the gameplay is probably feels like it's in just a big mess because everybody does play the same way. And, if it's not the 4-2-1-3 that they're sweating out with their 2 DMs, what I found a lot recently when I'm playing is when the ball turns over now, people are getting that ball out to a winger quicker than I can register it's turned over. The way that the players stand and behave, if you turn over the possession and you've got a winger set to wide midfielder or set to just being a winger, they are just standing on an island doing whatever the hell they want. And I just find it to be so crazy that you can win the ball back and within a split second be on an attack that is almost undefendable. And when you play that here and there, when you're only playing 3 or 4 games a day and you play that one time, it's really easy to push past that and just be like, damn, that guy was sweaty, whatever. But when it's like feels like it's every game, that's when the gameplay gets triggering.
Yeah, I'd definitely echo that. Richard, how are you feeling about the gameplay as someone who kind of only plays the game for the gameplay?
It's probably quite a less than popular take, but I actually really enjoy where I'm at the moment in the game. Probably 4-6 weeks ago, I wasn't there, but I think Team of the Season's given me quite a few new players to play with, quite a few different players to play with. I'm enjoying the formation that I'm running. I'm enjoying how my team's moving around the pitch. The only thing that really, really annoys me, I think is the best word to describe it, is when you're playing at a good elo in champs, or you're playing at a good rank in rivals, or whatever it might be, just the constant Travellas is... It's similar to what Nep said earlier when he was talking about he's looking for the pattern, go wide, finesse. People's entire gameplay is get the ball, green time Travella. And that's all they're looking to do. And I understand why people want to do that, because it is a super effective way of scoring. And you can win games just through Travellaing and green timing. For me, I don't enjoy the Travella. I don't really shoot from outside the box, being completely honest. And it's just, it feels like a bit of a kick in the teeth when I will score a goal. I'll feel like I'm on top for 25 minutes and then my opponent has one attack, Travella's it top bins. And I'm very good at just sort of getting on with it, and the game's a game. I'm playing it. I know what I'm playing. Everyone's entitled to play how they want to play. But it is like, I can also be frustrated by how people are playing. And I think that's the one thing for me that's just, it grinds my gears a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, especially when they're not winning. Like, when you're playing somebody and they're 2 or 3-0 down, and, it's not been totally one-sided, but it's clearly not going to go their way, and there's just not even an attempt to play a different way or something that resembles football. I know that people play the game to win. I know there's this thing that winning is everything in the game, and that is fun, and I get that, but to me, there's almost an element of like, if you were using hacks to win, I can't understand why there's any like enjoyment in that. I don't understand what you're getting from hacking to win a game, as you came up against in the Cup, Nep. But I think I don't know how far towards just normal play using the 4-2-1-3 or hitting what is a broken mechanic in terms of the Travella. It's clearly not meant to do what it's doing. Like, at what point does it not become fun if that's the only way you're winning games, rather than trying to like play some football or, have something different tactically or use some different players that can do things that are a little bit different? It's no wonder, I think, that a lot of players feel like it's monotonous, especially if you're playing that way. It's monotonous to play against. I can't imagine like what it must be like to go into every game and have 6 players behind the ball, never touch them, never grab anybody to try and like make a defensive action, win the ball back, just instantly ping it up to a forward, try and break through on a counter-attack, hit a Travella from 30 yards, and then go back to sitting deep again until you win the ball. I don't know. And I understand why people play that way. I think the game's been maybe positioned from both a content and rewards perspective to winning being super important. But I think we've lost the essence of having fun playing the game, and that not being so intrinsically linked to just winning at all costs. And I hope that when the game is kind of redesigned, or when we have something that slightly changes in the game, there's maybe more of an element put on having fun about dropping into a game and coming out. I definitely think shorter halves would help with that. If you went into a COD lobby and all you did for 15 minutes was just get headshot before you'd even seen anybody, it wouldn't be a fun experience. And that can often be what going into a game in FC against a better player is like. So actually shortening those games, having something that's a little bit more like a battle royale where it's, okay, that one's gone into the next one. I do think maybe it will allow for a bit more enjoyment, because the pain won't be quite as long. So yeah, I don't think the gameplay is terrible in this game. I just think it has 1 or 2 fatal flaws. But that is where we'll leave the gameplay episode for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank Richard Buckley. I know you've got to shoot off now.
Yes, thank you very much. You can, when this podcast goes out, watch the E-Champions League this weekend, the groups and knockouts, EA Sports FC Pro, where you can see me and a load of my colleagues breaking everything down.
Perfect. Definitely would advise tuning into those. The production value on them is absolutely crazy, and Rich is always good for a laugh during those live streams. Thank you very much, Richard. And Nep, where can people find you?
Just like on social media, mate, complaining and moaning and crying about the game. Anywhere in Nepenthez.
I mean, at least Arsenal are out of the Champions League now, so you don't need those kind of hour and 30-minute crash outs on Twitter. They were very entertaining post Arsenal games. Arteta will come good at some point. But if United do win the Europa League next week, then we'll have clearly had a better season despite finishing 16th, which is now where we are. But yeah, thank you very much for listening to this episode. And thank you very much to everyone who has joined the Patreon. I don't have the script for the end of episodes in front of me, so I'll hand over to a sick Ben that's probably been pre-recorded before he was sick to thank all of those who have joined the Patreon as icons.
Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Brent P, Ralph, Josh R, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, 𝘵𝘀𝗱𝗃, Make B, Michael H, Andrew P, Arian B, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Alan G, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Dan W, Waterman, Also Ran, and 𝗫𝗎𝘂. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast. Oh, I cleaned the windows on the weekend for the first time in ages, and they look great.